And we're live. So here we are. It is the I see that Bill B has changed his name from Beal last week to Bill B. So it's nice to meet all these incarnations. You're like Cheech Marin in this movie. You got like three different fucking characters.
And maybe we'll change it every week. That'll be fun.
Exactly. Yeah, well, this is New Jersey, so it's all good.
Bill Gecko this week.
Everybody has an alias in New Jersey.
That's why none of us go to the post office anymore. I see you somewhere here before. Could you go ahead and give me a book of stamps? All right, now I'm the one who's fucking rambling. All right. So we're here. Welcome to the latest episode, and we're starting something. Ryan from the New Jersey crew came up with an idea for summer-themed movies, and he had an idea to do Jaws, which we are going to get to, and I'd love to get everybody in on that. But it gave me an idea that we could just do an entire summer of horror movies that are set in summer, and so where people are available, I'll grab you guys and Rod and Ryan and maybe some other people from outside the circle, some other guests, but I thought we'd start off tonight because we already had this planned. And so what I did was I ended up researching movies that are set in the summer, and of course tonight's movie was right there at the top of the list, and it's Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn. So are you guys ready to talk some recreational vehicles?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get to it. John, I'm sorry, I didn't know you'd be joining us tonight. I didn't get a chance to put you in the intro, brother. You're like you were like one of those unannounced cameos or something. I didn't know he was going to be in this movie. Fuck.
I'm a surprise treat to everybody. Is how I see it. What the hell?
All right, we got Eric here. Eric's always supporting the show. He's always here, and he's excited for this one. It's his favorite movie involving vampires. All right. Cool. Well, that works. Now, Bill and I have done quite a few shows, and so have John and Ryan. Eric's been on a couple times. And we started off, Bill and I, talking about how cool 90s movies actually are. That there was this breakaway from the big budget, spectacular kind of movies to these, raw, rough, sort of independent movies that were, strictly a matter of, tight scripts, tight performances, good direction, made on a minimal amount of money. We talked about, I think Bill was talking about the films of Spike Jonze. We started covering the Blair Witch Project. We did Ryan and I did that movie Ravenous. We talked about being introduced to Kevin Smith, who filmed an entire movie inside a convenience store, basically, in black and white, and just blew us all away, right up there.
Yeah, don't forget Spike Lee, man. He was the first one out of the gate.
You know something that's absolutely right. So what will we be talking about there? School Days?
I love School Days. That's one of the best.
School Days is a fantastic movie. I was not a fan of Do the Right Thing until I realized my understanding of the premise is that no one was doing the right thing.
Right.
Like no one does the right thing in that movie. And I don't like movies where there's just no likable characters. And there just isn't in that movie. So, that's tough. But last Sunday, I was expanding on my Something Shitty This Way Comes episode, and I was talking about Stoker's Dracula. And at the end of the episode, what I always promise to do is to come up with another movie from that same year that hopefully I can recommend, and I forgot to do that for the episode. And so I started comparing, because I had brought in a bit of Herzog's Nosferatu, comparing castle scenes and these sorts of things. But then I realized I started announcing what the week's episodes were going to be. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've got the perfect movie right here, and we're about to cover it. And that's 1996's From Dusk Till Dawn, which is just a fantastic horror movie. It's got everything. It reminds me of a drive-in movie. Very similar in that way that we talked about with The Thing. It kind of reminds you of that. It is directed by Robert Rodriguez. It is 25 years old. This movie is 25 years old. How can that be? I just turned 25 myself. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Okay, I just turned 27, and I remember, I was sitting in my crib, and they put me in front of the playpen, and they put on From Dusk Till Dawn, and I was like, wow, this is a really good fucking movie. I remember saying those words exactly. It was written by Quentin Tarantino, and one of the people that we talked about in the 90s was Tarantino, and we're introduced to him, and we talked about Reservoir Dogs, just in passing in conversation, and the argument being that that was perhaps his best movie. We got Trenchy here is in the house tonight. He's saying, hey, what's up? To everybody, and he says, love the movie when Robert Rodriguez and Quentin come together. It usually results in some badass stuff, and there's no exception here. This was Quentin Tarantino's first writing assignment, his first paid writing assignment. And imagine just coming out of the gate with a story like this. How many different genres does this movie jump?
Oh, yeah, all of
Several.
them.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bill.
No. Say all of them. This is literally one of my favorite movies because it combines all those genres. I love dialogue-driven, character-heavy films. I love cheesy horror films, especially when it deals with vampires. And I love westerns and action movies when they're done well. And this just does all of that.
You've got chase scenes, you've got gunfights, you've got these two brothers that are just these hellish sort of outlaws. They're just running roughshod all through Texas. You've got kidnapping. You've got trying to cross the border, and then it just completely flips on its head.
It started off like a typical Tarantino movie or even a Rodriguez movie with that boom, 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 boom. And then when they got to the bar, all of a sudden it went wham, and that's what really pumped it for you.
Well,
for me, anyway.
I don't know if anybody knows this, but this was supposed to be part 2 of his story. Was supposed to be part 2 of the Tales from the Crypt.
Yes.
That was supposed to follow Demon Knight.
That's right. I knew that. Yeah.
It became Bordello of Blood because Tarantino's story was just too much for the Crypt Keeper.
The Crypt Keeper, it probably would have made his head fall off.
Yeah.
Not that anybody had a problem with Angie Everhart back then. I don't know whatever became of Angie Everhart, but that was. I don't remember.
She dated Stern. She dated Howard Stern for a while, and
that's it, man.
And then she just that'll do it for most people. Yeah, most people don't survive that. So that's usually.
It went the way of Dennis Miller, man. They were both in that movie and it went to hell.
That's where some people go to die, I guess. That sort of thing. It really showed how versatile Clooney is. So it's a stellar cast. This is an ensemble cast, almost in a drive-in style movie. You've got George Clooney, you've got Quentin Tarantino, you've got Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
How the hell do you get Harvey Keitel?
Harvey Keitel was a huge
Juliette Lewis.
Was one of her best movies.
Yeah.
I love Juliette Lewis and anything she does.
Yeah.
And in this movie, she plays innocent so well, being corrupted. Yeah. And if you know Juliette Lewis, she is anything but innocent, even at that point, because she had like 30 movies on her resume already.
Yeah.
When she pulls this performance off, it's an amazing performance by her that sort of gets ignored because there's so many high-powered people in that movie.
The movie she did right before this, if I'm not mistaken, was Natural Born Killers, which was written by Tarantino.
Right.
Okay.
And directed by Oliver Stone. That's how they met. And if you look at her in Natural Born Killers and then see her in this, it's everybody was playing against type.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Harvey Keitel was the innocent preacher.
Yeah.
George Clooney wasn't charming at all.
George Clooney,
in this movie.
You know something? George Clooney coming fresh off ER as the lovable kind of fuck up.
Yeah.
Who just, he's kind of like boffing everything, that's moving, and he sort of like misses the entire point of all these people's lives that he's hurting, comes fresh off of that, and he's playing this foul-mouthed, bullet heavy, sort of psychopath. But already you can see it. I'm a George Clooney fan. I don't know how some people feel about it. He already had that sort of Ocean's 11 sort of style to him by the time he hits this movie. And it probably has to do with the fact that the script is just so damn tight.
Right. Yeah.
And just so good.
Couldn't have found a better project for him to move away from his TV persona and really establish himself as the brilliant comic actor that he is, even though this is not really a comedy. Yeah. You got that comedy coming out of him the whole time. It reminds me a lot of the performance he did later in The Descendants. It's not supposed to be funny, but he's got that underlying comedy happening. He's a really funny guy.
And the thing is, the people they were picking initially was Tim Roth, Antonio Banderas, Christopher Walken was up to play the part of Seth. And they all turned it down because they had other projects, and Tarantino directed an episode of ER. And he said, the first season of ER towards the end, and it's funnier than hell if you get a chance to see it. It's rarely shown now. But he met Clooney there and said, he's the perfect Seth. Nice. In fact, a lot of Richie's lines that were funny, Tarantino changed on the set to give it to George Clooney.
Well,
George Clooney said, he said Tarantino gave him his career.
They played it perfectly. They are these two brothers that are just trying to make it to the border. I think Tarantino is the brother Richie. Clooney is Seth Gecko. Seth and Richie Gecko. Quentin Tarantino plays a convicted sex offender who busts his own brother out of the courthouse, I think, and they're just badass in their way through Texas, trying to make it to Mexico. Tarantino is interesting in the fact that he plays someone who's just sort of unlikable. He's not a likable character, at least until you get somewhere around the middle of the movie, because he is just kind of, to me, a foul person. He deliberately, arranges, all those shootings, in the liquor store. He kills that woman that they kidnap, and apparently, he rapes her. He's just an evil bastard. And whereas Clooney plays sort of, more of just a badass kind of hardened criminal. But he's not crossing that line into these other things that, rape and just like wanton murder.
Just like in Reservoir Dogs, he's playing the anti-hero who he may be a criminal and a killer, but at least he's conducting himself with an internal code. He's got a code. This is not who I am. I'm a professional thief. That sets him apart from his brother and sets the character to where he can be sympathetic.
Yeah,
and Clooney was more the one who was in control.
Yeah,
throughout the whole movie, he was. And everybody else was kind of. He was like he's the one who tried to keep everything there. Now, that was his motif.
When you look at it, I mean, Clooney's not necessarily a likable character either. I mean, until you get to the maybe second half of the movie, but you pair him against, this is what they do with writing all the time. They put you up against somebody. They put you next to somebody worse. Which in this case is his own brother, who he's constantly struggling to keep in line, but essentially he owes him his life for breaking him out of prison. Hold on, we got some comments here from Trenchy. You got the legendary Tom Savini, a sex machine. Yes, we're going to get to that with the real love gun. Okay, and Easy Marin, I'm pretty sure played multiple roles. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Cheech played 3 roles: border guard, the MC, and Carlos at the end. So he gets that. Okay. Border dude. Seth is the old, he's always cleaning up the messes. But
Mhm.
on the other hand, Richie's crazy enough to break him out of jail. Now,
Right.
this is another movie that I say you couldn't make today.
No.
Oh, sure.
It's
Oh, yeah.
so politically incorrect.
There is that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's just so rude. Like he breaks into, because what ends up happening, of course, they break into the hotel room with Harvey Keitel and his two children, and they're sitting there, and Clooney just looks at him and goes, "So what are you, a couple of fags or something like that?" And he's like, "No, this is my son." And he's like, "Is he Japanese?" No, he's Chinese. And so that right there would probably, excuse me, all to hell. And I saw that that 3-minute scene right there, and that would be like trending on every social media platform in existence nowadays.
Exactly.
Well, to his credit, Tarantino never really put up with that kind of bullying, and he was an early adopter of not putting up with it. Spike Lee tried to take him down, saying that he used the N-word in his movies way too many times, and he just told him to just sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
This is my world. This is my universe that I'm creating, and if you don't like it, tough. And that's the way you got to deal with that.
It's his movie. He's directing it, and I mean everybody else seems to like it.
Yeah.
So you can't play to the one or two people that are going to stand up and, because apparently I think he got up and I think the story is Spike Lee got up and walked out and yelled, "This is bullshit," in the middle of Pulp Fiction.
Right.
But then I think Sam Jackson actually told him to shut up too.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, you didn't make the movie, shut up. So
to his credit, he's doing what he's doing.
Well, I mean, he was nominated for an Oscar for that performance as oh God, what was his name? Well, whatever his name is, from Pulp Fiction. So supporting actor. Now you've got you've got Harvey Keitel, you've got Julius Lewis. Forgive me, I don't know the name of the kid that plays the other. But you've got some cool cameos also. You got Kelly Preston.
Yes.
The late Kelly Preston, rest in peace. And I think you've got the late John Saxon.
That's correct.
John Saxon from the old Enter the Dragon days, man. I was I remember the first time I watched this, and I didn't see it in the theaters. I think we waited for VHS, but I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, is that John Saxon? That's just unbelievable.
And he's like 3 minutes in the movie.
Yeah,
and that's it.
I mean, I'm glad to see him. Glad that he's still working. Doing anything. It's just there's such great delivery, such great writing, and here's another thing: such a great soundtrack.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
When's the last time we've had a soundtrack that you could talk about? I mean, everything is now these Hans Zimmer scores.
And I have nothing against that in certain movies. Yes, the Hans Zimmer scores are needed, but this soundtrack, I was listening to it like a few nights ago when I was rewatched the film because it's on Apple Tunes.
Yeah, I got it on Spotify.
I'm sorry, and it's like, damn, it really rocks, man. There's this easy pop song that I didn't know was on until I rewatched the movie.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that was them.
Yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimmy Vaughan, ZZ Top. I think you got the Blasters on there. I think that old Mexican band.
The first time I heard the Blasters was on that soundtrack, and I didn't know it was them for a while.
What, that was the first time you heard them?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember them from an old soundtrack. I don't know if anybody remembers this, a movie called Streets of Fire.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Diane Lane, baby.
Diane Lane, Willem Dafoe is the leader of the biker gang.
And Rick Moranis has a dick.
Yeah, Rick Moranis is a dick. And Michael Paré, is that the guy who's heading the Cruisers?
Yep.
Who just spends the whole movie insulting Rick Moranis.
Yes.
He just pumps Rick Moranis throughout the whole movie. Hold on, we got...
I'm glad you said that you didn't see it in the theaters because I thought I was the only one. I was so occupied with so many things. I was such a late adopter of this movie. I didn't see it. It came out in January of '96.
Yeah.
I didn't see it until well after Halloween '96. And the only reason I bothered was because there were so many people at the various Halloween parties I went to who were dressed like Seth Gecko.
Okay.
What costume is this, right? It's just wearing a black suit and a white T-shirt. I had no idea. And then, you would see the tattoos. Like, what costume is that? And he's like, Gecko Brothers.
Yeah,
I had to go see that.
you're thinking that Miami Vice has made a comeback or something. Like, Jesus, who brought that back? Make it stop.
Yeah.
Right? Hold on. Eric Siri says Ernest Liu plays Scott. Scott, yeah, that's it. Julie,
That's it.
brother. Thank you, Eric. The soundtrack is still in heavy rotation on my iPod. Bought the CD when I first saw the movie.
Yeah.
And he also loves Streets of. Yeah, I love Streets of.
Yeah.
Fire. That's just a great fun movie. Cheech Marin is in 3 different roles here. I mean, this is just, he plays the creepy border guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying to peek at Juliette Lewis on the toilet. I mean, you're just like, oh God, on the toilet, really? That's what you're trying to do. He's the you're right. He's the MC at the
Titty bar, Titty Twister.
At perhaps the greatest name for a bar I've ever heard of.
Yes,
the Titty Twister. The Titty Twister. Look at that. I mean, I'm sort of in awe that he was able to just write something that jumped all over the place like this on a first assignment, come up with a bar called the Titty Twister, and just, everything works.
Yeah.
Everything works.
And like with Cheech Marin, one of the things that I found funny was that he got the 3 parts accidentally.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was supposed to be the border guard, and there was nobody else there to do the other 2 parts. So he said, well, let me read for you and do, when they were with the other people. And Tarantino and Rodriguez turned around and said, oh, that would be fun if we just keep bringing him in.
Yeah.
Rodriguez said in an interview, he said, Rodriguez said, well, everybody thinks Mexicans look the same.
Oh.
He thought it would be funny. I know. He thought it would be funny if he brought in Cheech Marin 3 times. They were playing a lot. There's a lot of jokes that they were playing in there. And
inside jokes.
That makes it work.
It totally works. Like, I was like, you wouldn't think to cast the same person 3 times inside the same movie, and see it as, and you would hear that on the surface, and like in any other, standard universe, you'd be like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But
that would be Stanley Kubrick, Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah.
The only God. You can think of it happening.
He was in 7, Peter's. But then again, you also look at Joe in the Volcano, and you got Meg Ryan playing 3 different people, and that's a horrible movie.
That's a good call.
Yeah, but it depends on who it is and can pull it off. Cheech was great.
He says Cheech is in almost every. He's in. Is he in? I know he's in Desperado.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know if he's in El Mariachi.
I don't think he is.
Not the first one.
Not the first one, but he was in all the other ones too.
And what's the other one? Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Was he in that?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
Was also in. What's the one with the superhero kids?
Spy Kids?
Spy Kids. He's in that too.
I never saw Spy Kids.
That's a Rodriguez movie as well.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Cheech's name is the MC went perfect with the name of the bar being the Titty Twister. His name was Chet. Okay. Chet Pussy. Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't look that deeply into the credits, but that's why we have Eric here, and he brings a lot of good information to the show. So we've got let's see, who else have we got? We've got Danny Trejo as a surly ass bartender.
Yep.
Who doesn't even want they make it all. They kidnap Harvey Keitel and the 2 kids, force them to go across the border because they're trying to get to Mexico, hiding in this shitty little RV. And they finally get to Mexico. They stop at this place that Carlos has told them to wait, and they'll meet in the morning. And it's just got.
And the road to Machete Kills starts right here with this guy.
And Danny Trejo just doesn't want them in there from the get-go. And you're thinking about it, and you're like, well, wait a minute. Maybe Danny Trejo's doing them a favor, looking back on it. In retrospect, he's trying to do them a favor. Just get out. Get out of here now. But then you've also got Tom Savini, and you've got Fred Williamson.
Yep.
Like, how did you think like Tom Savini, I get it, because there's a lot of makeup and there's, practical effects and things like that. But Fred Williamson, again, is just a great addition to the cast. And that kind of rounds it out until we get to Salma Hayek,
There you go.
which
A moment of silence for Selma Hayek.
I don't know that I've ever. Yeah, that is peak performance. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That is what peak performance looks like.
Right.
I didn't know. I don't think I had heard of Salma Hayek before, and I don't know if this came out before Desperado. So essentially, huh?
It was after.
Was it after Desperado?
Yeah,
okay, well maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't recognize her, or maybe I saw Desperado later.
Dancing with a Snake in Desperado. I mean, there's no better way to make your mark than to do that dance.
Well, I remember in Desperado, her introductory scene, she causes a car crash.
Yeah.
The intro scene with Salma Hayek, she's just walking down the street and it causes like a 3-car pileup, with her just moving down the street back then when she must have been like 23.
Yep.
Something like that, 25 or something like that. And that was something. And you still, now you're really thrown because you have no idea what's coming.
Right.
Eric says, you serve food here? Yeah, the best in Mexico. Yeah, I doubt that. You serve food here, Jose?
So many notable lines in this movie, man.
Yeah. It's just one-liner after one-liner after one-liner.
Yep.
Eric says he was 15 when the movie came out and he first saw Salma. Yeah, saw it. Okay.
Lucky man.
Yeah, that's something. That is something. So finally, the movie sort of turns and you find out that this is a bar that is essentially a haven for vampires.
Right.
And then it takes the final turn into what I think it always intended to be, which is a horror movie.
Right.
Which takes you... this movie, I think, is an hour and 48 minutes because I just watched it on HBO. So you got the timer on there. You're almost at an hour before you get to see any hint that this is a vampire movie.
Right.
So they've taken you through more than 50% of the movie before the reveal actually happens. And then it just flips on its ass. And at the same time, when that happens, everybody just starts to get wiped off the board.
Right. Exactly.
Sheets turns into a vampire. Salma Hayek is a vampire. All the strippers are vampires. The bartender, Danny Trejo, is a vampire. And they just start feasting on everybody that's half drunk.
The band is the vampires.
And has been distracted all this time. Quentin Tarantino buys it.
Right. And becomes a vampire.
Yeah, and becomes a vampire, and it just turns into a free-for-all.
Right.
Like,
is one great vampire kill after another, upping the ante all the way till the end.
Exactly.
It's great. It's like watching 10 seasons of Walking Dead, because every week they try to get a new zombie kill.
Right.
This is all of the kills in the last 20 minutes of the movie.
And the same guys who did Walking Dead also did this movie. This was their first movie that they came out. It's the same production company.
Yep.
Now you've got Fred Williamson attacking people with a pencil.
That's the best kill in the movie, man.
Yep.
Pencil onto the black beating heart of a vampire.
Yep. He pulls out the beating heart of a vampire with his bare hands because he's a Vietnam vet. Apparently, he knows kung fu or something like that.
And Rodriguez on a point about this, because we noticed the vampires had green blood.
Yes.
And because of that scene pulling the heart out, they were going to give him an NR-17 rating for it. And he didn't want that. He said that would have been too high for the audience he was looking for. So he convinced them, saying by the vampires having the green blood and making it that way since they were going over the top, it was to keep the ratings down but still keep the gore type effect in it, but not make it too sharp.
Tarantino had that same problem when he made Kill Bill. It almost had an NC-17 because of all the blood.
All the blood.
This was a movie, my understanding was it was actually banned, I think, in Ireland.
Yes.
They were experiencing a time of high violence over there, and maybe they thought that this was just going to set people off or something like that.
Yeah.
It also received some negative reviews. I mean, I think it received at best mediocre reviews, and kind of like Carpenter, the fans keep it afloat. But the mainstream reviewers, the Roger Eberts of the time, the Gene Siskel's, they were like, oh, this is just, this sort of over the top, extraordinarily bloody kind of, whatever.
It's 15 years after Evil Dead, and they did the exact same thing for Evil Dead, and they would have moved on, being such a progressive society.
Right.
They can't recognize, just like they did in an Evil Dead, that it was partially a Three Stooges, and it was a great big long cartoon, and they just did it again. And I think that was a case of public servants trying to make their name coming out against movies.
And the irony of it is, the critics, when they were complaining about it, they said when they switched to the vampire, they wanted to see the story of Seth and Richie, which, ironic, was also bloody, also violent. But when it became the over-the-top vampires, a lot of the older critics complained about it. But it was the younger fans who said,
"Shut up,
this is cool." No, this is cool. They liked the turn.
Well, yeah, and what happens at the turn also is that Seth and Richie and everybody becomes the good guy.
Yeah.
Just like that, they completely flip. And I think you, like even me, I watched it recently, in preparation for the show, and I don't like Richie.
Yeah.
But when Richie dies, you're just like, oh, you don't, you're like, oh no. And like Juliette Lewis is like screaming Richie, and you're like, oh shit. You really do kind of get caught up in it. It's a hell of a thing.
With as bad as the vampires became, and as bad as the core group were, to see the vampires come, and who else is going to survive that type of horror? Yeah. If not those type of people.
Hold on a second. Trenchy has said it's rumored that Tarantino wrote this just as an excuse to get Salma Hayek's telling his mouth.
He does that. Come on.
That wouldn't be surprising at all, man.
Yeah.
Bad work if you can get it, boy.
Hey, it's in the script. I'm just the writer. Leave me alone. You audition for the part, so there you go. And I think at the time
that's why he plays such a good pervert, because he's a little perverted himself.
Yeah.
If I was
all his movies.
If I was writing it, I would say, well, you got to put something else in my mouth besides yourself. But that's me. I'm a pig that way.
Well, there goes the rating. There goes the rating. All right. So, but I mean, I think at the time she was dating Rodriguez too. So, it's just cast as girlfriend. Hold on. I love how every vampire looks different. Some crazy ass designs with them. Yeah. It's true. Once the vamps are revealed, it's pure badass chaos. Yeah. One of my favorite lines in the whole movie is from Tom Savini, and he's just like, now Bill, don't take exception to this. He goes, now let's kill that fucking band.
But they escape. They escape, my man.
Yep. All right, fuck you, everyone. Good night. And they just fucking explode and disappear. Yeah. You're like, oh Jesus, what a movie this is.
My bass player was my favorite one of that old band. When all of a sudden you look at the body, and I'm like, when I saw that, I'm like, take my brain, just sit and enjoy the ride, man. Here we go.
I'd never seen Fred Williamson's blaxploitation stuff, but I loved him in this. He's also great in the VFW, which came out last year or the year before. Okay, I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to get around to it. I love Fred Williamson. I've seen some of the blaxploitation.
Savini's got some acting chops. He may be a little bit stiff, but I first noticed him as an actor when he was in that movie with Ed Harris about the traveling knights who joust on motorcycles.
Night Riders.
I don't want to say
Night Riders. Yeah,
great movie, man. But he carried that because he was the second lead or the third lead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's a very underrated film. Not a lot of people know about that. That's an early '80s. Very young Ed Harris, kind of.
He had hair.
Movie. Yeah.
And a great Stephen King cameo in that one, too.
Yep.
Was he in that?
Yep.
Yeah. He's Hoagie Man.
I probably haven't seen that in 25 years.
Oh, yeah. Good late night viewing, that one.
Okay. I'll have to check that out.
Tom Savini, man. When he showed up in this, You're like, he's doing the effects, he's doing the acting. That's just he's a king. He's the king.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And come on, he had the cool belt gun.
Yeah.
I heard that was an homage to Mariachi.
To Mariachi. Yeah.
Sex Machine.
Yeah.
He, you know,
Great name too.
I have a little. Oh, that's a fantastic name. I have a little, concern that, with the way that movies are going and the way effects just seem to be computer animated. The Brick Bakers and the Tom Savinis. They're kind of, are practical effects becoming a dying art?
I don't think so. I honestly think it's going to swing back. I mean, if you're talking about no offense, Lord of the Rings, you needed it, to get some of that effect. Yeah. But even for this movie, magazines like Creep Show or Vampilla or whatever those like movie horror magazines.
Fangoria.
Yeah, Fangoria. Thank you. They complained about the computer images.
Right.
They loved the old-fashioned puppet or the people crawling across the floor. They were into that more than the computer stuff.
Yeah.
The audiences are getting tired of CGI overload.
And I agree.
Realistic. You want to see something that's real.
Exactly.
I always refer back to that when Rob Zombie was on Rogan, and he says, there's something in your brain that registers when you see practical effects. You realize that that's a person.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, and he's like, I don't have any problem with it. He goes, but like the new Godzilla movie, you're like, it's a cool look. He said it's a cool looking monster, but that's not
a guy.
There's something that registers with a guy in a rubber suit.
Yes.
And that original movie, especially the Gojira, for some reason in the other movie they decided to put in Raymond Burr. But that original Gojira movie is scary as shit.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, man.
For the stage, for as many years as I worked on the stage, I had to make fake blood or fake explode or things like that for some effects. And I mentioned to you, Mike, like a couple of weeks ago, I had gotten sick.
Yeah.
And there was an issue with some blood that came out of me. And it was weird because I looked at it. It kind of was shocking, but then I looked at it and went, wow, I really made that fake blood realistic. That looks exactly like it's coming out of it. And it was, as bizarre as that was, it does affect you more.
Yes.
Yeah, it registers.
The same year Braveheart came out. And to get past the end, C-17, all the blood that they were doing in the battles, for most of it, was CGI. Like when they killed the horses and everything else, but that was the point, to make it look that way. And it was very fast and quick. But to me, that's what affected it. What made it.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no. This is what made this movie work.
Yeah.
When you did see it. My favorite joke is when they stab the goddamn heart with the pencil and he just dies.
I mean, that's when you see a bar full of people.
Yeah.
Like that, you're like, holy shit. Yeah. And Harvey Keitel, because Harvey Keitel gets a bit.
Yep.
Tom Savini gets a bit and gets, that sort of ends quickly. But when Harvey Keitel gets a bit, you're like, oh shit, this movie is really going for it.
Yeah.
They're wiping some of their strongest pieces off the board. Tarantino's gone. But, all those bats come in and then they settle into their, sort of humanoid form. And Harvey Keitel comes out from behind that bar and like, these are the vampires that are waiting for me. You're like, holy shit, this is a hardcore movie.
Yeah.
And it went straight into 90s cool, like 90s self-referential, 70s referencing, because you think that you're sunk. All those bats show up, all those reinforcement vampires show up. And how do they kill them? With a disco ball. There's nothing not cool about that.
And holy waters and super soakers.
Cool. That is totally a Gen X vampire kill that you can't take away from us and will never be repeated, because that was the coolest part of the second half of the movie. I'm sitting there going, holy crap, that is brilliant.
So hold on. Trenchy says, I feel like Richie's death is impactful because we care for Seth because he seems halfway decent. He cares about Richie, even though he's a creep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some actual acting in this. I mean, it's not just, these are solid performances by these guys.
It's probably a mistake that he looked like Frankenstein when he turned into a vampire. just to emphasize the fact that he was the monster the whole time. And he was like the drag on Seth, who was the Dr. Frankenstein in that moment. That was a good reference.
Hold on a second. Apparently, there's a TV series. I think we were talking about this earlier, or I was talking about it somewhere. I haven't seen it. Jake Busey plays Sex Machine.
Yes.
Oh Lord. Oh, Lord.
No.
That can go a lot of different directions. Okay, Gojira, then Tarantula or King Kong. Some of the best giant monster movies of all times because of their real effects.
Yeah.
Although I hate that.
His explosions. The CGI explosions take me right out of films. Great pyrotechnics in movies is necessary, and when all those vampires are blowing up, it's real satisfying to know that those are squibs and it's a real explosion.
Like when Cheech Marin explodes and actually gets all over Juliette Lewis.
Yeah.
And she's like freaking out, trying to wipe, his eyeballs explode and his head explodes, and you're like, oh, that's gross.
Exactly. Each vampire, to go back to, somebody made the comment before that each vampire looks different. I always took the fact that when you were bit and became a vampire, it released who your inner demon was.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how I saw that, because like the one guy who was the big mouth all of a sudden had a big gaping maw and was like the Predator.
That was Fred Williamson.
Yeah, I mean, one of the even Harvey Keitel, as when he turned into a vamp, he still looked like a dad. I hate to say that, but that he still had that look.
Kind of, sort of, and
but it's and I know it's a stretch, but I think that was done on purpose. I mean, even Selma Hayek, when she changed, became a serpent almost. The head.
Yes.
Got the scales. There were. I think there was a reason behind it.
You heard it here first, everybody. All right, John K. Alvarez.
That was one of the things about it, is like, from what I can gather, Rodriguez was throwing stuff at the crew, and they had to make it up in a day. So they were coming up with stuff. He shot this movie that was 15 weeks he was given to shoot, and he got it done in 10.
Sure.
They pushed that, so there's that energy, which I think was needed for this movie, that manic boom, 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 boom. It traveled to the film because I think everybody had it on the set. Type deal. I really think that added to it.
They get to the part where, the final fight takes off and they're launching. They've got like holy water inside the prophylactic. They've got the kid, Justin Liu Scott. Was that his name? He has a water balloon, water gun. Filled with holy water. Juliette Lewis has a crossbow. I think we have the photo here from earlier on. So it's like a water gun. Harvey Keitel's got a shotgun, and he's turned it into a cross with like a half a pool cue. And then George Clooney has some sort of power drill or something. He's just drilling these guys left and right. So the final fight, again, is just full of gore. But again, of course, like Bill says, finally Cheech Marin appears, and they open the door, and the light hits the disco ball, and they all fucking explode, and they run out of there, only to find out that Cheech has never been to that bar before in his life. He's like, why, of all the godforsaken places of Mexico, did you pick this out of a hat? He's like, one place, and that was the funniest scene. Because he's just so deadpan. He's like, one place is as good as another. Like, have you ever been here? No.
And the ending of that movie is so perfect for the wrapping up of the characters. Because Seth, who throughout the whole movie was telling everybody, be cool, keeping everybody calm, even when all hell is breaking loose. He was keeping them focused on it. I don't believe in fucking vampires, but they're fucking vampires. So now I believe it. I mean, that was, that whole, he hauls off and punches Cheech Marin. That's to me the first time he lost control in that whole movie. Because he was like, fuck you. And then he went right back to it. They were negotiating prices.
Cheech only knocked him down 5% after all that.
That brought him up to 20. That was a bad negotiation.
That was fucking brilliant.
He starts off at 15. He should have started off at like 3 or something like that. You know, he starts off at 15. I think they end at 25, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What a bad thing this was.
You expect Kate to be completely sort of demoralized and all of her innocence taken away, and Seth's just like, no, you can't come with me.
Yeah.
So I'm a bastard, but I'm not a fucking bastard.
That's the question. Now, do you feel he should have taken her?
No.
For him to
took her
the character to the end, he shouldn't have. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, I'm a bastard, but I'm not that big of a fucking bastard.
Right, but at the same time, he's gotten her whole family killed, and all he's managed to give her probably was what, $5,000?
A little more than that, I would.
You know, and an RV. You know, she probably has no way to fend in the world. And I'm thinking about this way too much, but I mean, that's just the predicament. And I'm thinking, but if he had taken her, it would have turned into, they would have turned
if
into
he
something.
took her, no joke intended, the sequel would have had to star the two of them.
Yeah.
Because you would have to find out what happened to them.
Yeah.
Because the first thing I thought was after she was gone and Taryn, what were they, psychos? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I'm reading.
Hey, no, go ahead. I'm just posting these as
Sorry.
like
Thank you, Eric.
Those one-liners, they just didn't stop, and that's that comic genius of Clooney, where he can deadpan these funny lines and keep a straight face.
Gotcha. Absolutely.
So you find out. Go ahead.
No, to me, it was been like I know Tarantino actually talked about. He was thinking about writing a movie, what happened to the Juliette Lewis character, and not making it about vampires or something like that, but making it like she was on, following people or tracking down people who were into like some of this brutal shit in the background, killing people and whatever, not to try to help them type deal.
Well, it is Juliette Lewis, so I mean,
it works for her again.
Yeah,
they're only making one more movie, but really, I hope that she's one of the characters.
Yeah, because I thought that was cool.
When is the last time anyone has seen Juliette Lewis?
She's in a bunch of stuff. She's in a TV show. She did a tour with her band, The Licks.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I heard about the band, but
a movie called Whip It, which was about roller derby, which was really good. It came out like 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard the name.
She's been on TV on occasion. She's been like guest starring in like, I hate to say it, but like Grey's Anatomy. She'll come on and do like a recurring character and they take off. She's doing that type deal where she pops in and pops out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's nice to see people break against. That would be breaking again. That would be against type, because she usually plays somebody who's, out on the fringe. I mean, going all the way back to Cape Fear.
Oh, there you go. That's a movie.
And you're just like, whoa, this is pushing, and especially for the time. That movie was really pushing. Scorsese, really sort of, pushed the envelope with that. So
right, I'm sorry, I'm going to age myself for a second for this.
Okay.
When From Dusk Till Dawn came out, I was ready to say Pulp Fiction. It was made for $19 million and made $26 million in U.S.
Right.
Out in the movie theater. Nothing in Europe, because you were right, Mike, when they did that whole thing, that Europe didn't want it. They thought it was too violent. It wasn't until it hit DVD and Laserdisc.
Yeah.
The sales of Laserdisc on that movie.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity to see these movies at home has saved so many horror movies.
Yes.
We've been talking about this when we talk about Carpenter, and all of his movies are box office flops.
Yeah.
From the cult favorites to the Apocalypse trilogy. I mean, but once people have an opportunity to buy them or rent them or view them in their homes, they breathe new life again. And, horror is kind of, I was saying this last week, it's kind of a niche thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a slow a super successful horror movie has a real slow burn. It gathers an audience slowly through word of mouth.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who are embarrassed to admit they watch horror movies.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of the people you see on YouTube and everything else when they're watching horror movies, they got the thick black eyeliners and the long hair, and they dress. I mean, shit, I'm sitting in the shadow because I just didn't want the overhead light on me. But it's the point about it is that there are a lot of people who don't want to admit that they like that. I know a friend of mine who has quite literally collects stuff from like all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies.
Oh, nice.
He catches posters, and he's a huge fan of those movies. And I'm going, really? And he said, oh, when they gave up on trying to be scary, Freddy became funny as shit. You know, and that's what it was to him. He was like, what to see what Freddy was going to say. But you know, because he hated the remake with the guy. The guy from The Watchmen who played.
Yeah, the guy who played Rorschach.
Played Freddy Krueger.
Yeah,
he didn't like it because they went back to the scary, and he goes, I think people got used to the humor.
Yes.
You know, the smart ass of it. So when it comes to especially like this, the humor was great. I'm sorry. One of my favorite lines in that movie made me laugh out loud when I saw it in the movie theater was when Selma Hayek had his foot on Clooney's chest and turned around and said, being my slave. And he said, no, thanks. I've been married before. And shot her. Bad joke, but it worked, and it was funny. And if you look at some of the things from the 80s and the 90s, they worked humor in on purpose.
Yeah, and this movie is rewatchable because of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can go back. I rewatched it this week, and it must be 24 times I've seen that movie, and I get pulled into it every time because the performances, the dialogue, the writing, the humor, all that. I can sit there. It's never tedious, and you're never waiting for a good special effect. There's always the story is there, the characters are there, and by the way, you get to see someone explode a heart with a pencil.
Oh,
Still the package.
You know, it's
like
got everything in good music.
Yeah, too.
Yeah, you're listening to, you're in some sort of bar from hell listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, you know, play the freaking blues.
Going back to the Bordello of Blood, when Dennis Miller was walking through the bordello with the super soaker, I swear to God they stole that from Dusk Till Dawn.
Easily.
You know.
Wait, what movie was this?
Well, there is also, you can't forget Lost Boys, though, which did
true. You got that. True.
Years earlier, and was the originator of that.
In Bordello of Blood, the one that they used for the Creep Show.
I only saw it the one time.
Dennis Miller's the hero, and him and Chris Sarandon are walking through with super soakers, and they're playing Sweet's Ballroom Blitz.
Oh God!
And he's shooting things down and everything else because, you know, that's why I said you skipped having From Dusk Till Dawn for this.
Yeah.
You know, that would have saved the series, quite literally. No joke intended, you know, because after that movie, series kind of just died.
But you can see the studio fingerprints and the executives telling them to do this, do that, throw this in. It was horrible. Movies by committee don't work, which is why Rodriguez is just so good at directing this movie. He had total control, and like you said, they were able to do it in under 15 weeks. And
he was coming up with ideas, and he had a group of people saying, "Oh, what the hell." You know, let's see if we can do it.
That was a common theme. That's a common theme in horror. You know, where the suits and the execs come in, and you know they start overriding the writer and overriding the director, and you know you can take it all the way to
garbage because of that.
Yeah, you could take even movies that have been relatively salvageable, like Exorcist 3. They really did a number on Blatty. Forcing him to have that exorcism scene at the end that has nothing to do with Blatty's book.
Exactly.
It has absolutely nothing to do with Blatty's book. Now, 20, 30 years later, I think before he died, they were able to put that together, with some very raw takes from what he had originally shot, I guess like the Blatty cut, like the Snyder cut. And unfortunately, he wasn't around to bring it up to snuff, or it's been too much time for reshoots or anything like that. But that seems to be a common theme in horror films. The suits know better than John Carpenter. They know better than Ridley Scott. I think they did the same thing with Alien Covenant. They wouldn't allow Ridley Scott to continue his Engineer trilogy, and they made him create a standard and what turned out to be a not very enjoyable alien flick where you just didn't care about any of those characters.
And that's the point. You just said it right there. because it also goes to this movie. You cared.
Yeah.
Even when you didn't want to care about these guys,
you did.
They were trapped in that bar.
Yeah.
Like, fuck,
Yeah. And now we find out at the end, of course, that this has been some sort of Aztec civilization, perhaps. Or Mayan or something along those lines. So, it does sort of leave an opening for, another movie, which, they're saying now, there's a series, I think, and I think there were like two or three sequels.
Second sequel is okay. You can get through. Yeah. I think Bruce Campbell is in it and Dennis Hopper. So it's worth checking out.
What's the one with Robert Patrick? Robert Patrick is in one of them. The guy was the T-1000.
Yeah, he's in. I believe he was in the third one.
In the third one, okay.
Yeah, because I have a horrible TV channel here, and they showed all three movies back to back.
Wow!
On a Saturday night, and I said, "Oh, what the hell? Let me watch it." And I'm like, "Yay! Okay." Oh Jesus! It's kind of, but that's the way it trailed off type deal.
But I think, when they say, where franchises go to die or whatever, but I hear that term a lot. But I think when you start to get to part 3 of almost anything,
you gotta end it.
Yeah, and what movie were we talking about yesterday? We were talking about, we veered off into Jurassic, because we were veering off everywhere yesterday, and we were veered off into Jurassic Park, and now Sam Neill is coming back, and Laura Dern is coming back, and I said, I know that this is hoping against hope. I said, but this will be a good place to close.
It should be, yes.
You've got Chris Pratt, you've got Bryce Dallas Howard, you've got the old team of Sam Neill and Laura Dern. This would be a good place to bring it to a conclusion. Please just stop flogging, this dead horse, and just, let something end with dignity. And this is why I create, the something shitty kind of episodes, because I keep saying that, it's like a blocked artery during a bypass. The artery is so flooded with reboots and sequels and, these sorts of things that the new blood can't get through. The original stories that are out there that I'm sure people want to see can't get made because, there is a finite amount of space out there, and if you're making part 9 of anything.
Yeah, but you also have now, at least in this sense, you still have the Netflix, you have the Apple TV now that are trying to find some new stuff, and they're looking for new people because they can't afford to bring in. Netflix can now. I remember when Netflix used to send the DVDs to you, Yeah. It wasn't a station. But like, if you look at Apple TV or you look at Amazon TV type deal, there's some new and interesting stuff, but people can't get access to it, which catches on. But if you catch some of their stuff, you're going, I want to follow this guy.
It's about
this person.
It's so hit and miss though, because they're throwing everything at you. There's 10 garbage things to find one really good movie, like what Mike suggested. HBO did Underwater, and that was like a breath of fresh air among
but that's in every cycle. There's 10, that's almost pretty much in every cycle when it comes to something entertainment. It's a lot easier to do something that's surefire.
Yeah.
What's been most disappointing to me is what Netflix lost with their Marvel content. I know Bill's not necessarily a Marvel fan, but they had really good Marvel content with Daredevil and Luke Cage and Punisher, and then they replaced it with this Disney shit.
Yes.
Right.
Which is just this preachy, bullshit, and you're like, man, I would have loved to have seen a 3rd season of Luke Cage where at the end of the 2nd season, Luke Cage becomes a mob boss. The hero becomes a mob boss.
Right.
Daredevil, where he Vincent D'Onofrio is, the kingpin, and what was going on with Bullseye, and that guy was just batshit crazy. Barenthal is the Punisher. I would have loved to have seen another season of Jessica Jones. Iron Fist, I could have lived with that, but seeing Scott Glenn come back, in Defenders. But instead, I'm stuck with, listening to, and I got no problem with Anthony Mackie being Captain America, but, doing this preachy thing. And you're just like, oh, man, why does he need a bank loan?
Right. You know,
why does he need a bank loan? What the fuck?
you know, you
Why
think
did the Jedi go to solve a trade dispute?
you know, but but that's where it falls into the fact of what is comfortable. When the shoes you break in become very comfortable, but you also got to check they're going to start wearing out. You know, you need a new pair of shoes. I mean, I hate to make that analogy, but that's what it is. You're walking in these characters' formats and style. This is what makes Tarantino good.
Yep.
I would rather watch a bad Tarantino movie, and I think there's two of them. I wasn't a big fan of the Crazy Eight movies. The Hateful Eight, I'm sorry.
Oh, I like that movie.
It was okay, but compared to some of the other ones, like, you know, but I was one of the ones who liked Kill Bill. Not Kill Bill, Jackie Brown. What's the one he did with
Pam Grier?
Yeah, Pam Grier.
Jackie Brown. Yeah.
I loved that movie, but then again, I watched those movies when I was younger, but he had an original take to it.
I like
it as a young person because they were all about getting old and losing your edge, and that's not what I wanted to see when I was still in my 20s.
Yeah, but when I saw it, I was 33, so I'm like, yeah, here we go.
I liked the Hateful Eight. I think to me, and I've had this discussion a few times, what took a lot of people off guard, one was that the people you kind of think are going to be the stars or make it don't. Right. And for me, the best part of that movie was Walton Goggins.
Yeah.
Walton Goggins stole every scene in that movie. That was like a masterpiece fucking performance. Right. And the fact that Kurt Russell got shot out early.
It is Walton.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know.
Yeah.
He's got to do a vampire movie at some point. He's as good as Willem Dafoe was in
Shadow of the Vampire.
And look, and going back to keeping it on the movie, Mike, as you're talking about it, so we don't go too far off track.
No. Not like yesterday.
If you look at this movie now, if you look at From Dusk Till Dawn, how many careers did it actually launch?
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean, Clooney.
Yep.
Clooney's got to give credit where credit's due, man. He wouldn't have gotten a lot of that stuff unless he did. The movie he did before that, before he got ER, was the sequel to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. All right. Yeah.
Did he play Batman after this movie?
Yeah, he played Batman after this movie.
There you go.
You know.
Well, we should cover that for something shitty.
Oh, yeah.
You should.
And I don't blame Clooney for it being shitty. I blame
Schumacher,
else, man. You know?
Schumacher.
You know.
But it's the question. How does this how do two other really good 90s vampire movies stack up against this one? Because this is clearly high level stuff, the Dusk Till Dawn. But what about, how does it stack up against Carpenter's The Vampires and the one with Ethan Hawke? I can't remember the name.
Oh, and Willem Dafoe.
Yeah,
Daybreak.
That was a brilliant movie.
Yeah, it was.
Underrated movie. Another underrated movie.
Yeah.
I think Daybreakers to me was an artsy vampire film.
Yes.
I loved it, but it was like, this is something I would be watching in an art class, you know, or a film class.
Yeah.
It was like, where the hell did this come from?
And Sam Neill is in that too.
Yeah. And Carpenter's, I genuinely enjoyed because James Wood made me laugh my ass off.
But
I'm sorry. He made me laugh my ass off throughout that whole movie, but I'm like, but he was the hero they needed. To me, it was like if the George Clooney character of Seth was, you know, a hero as opposed to the villain.
Right, an anti-hero, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that this movie is the best of the three.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
The best of the three.
And again, because of the spin, you know, the turn, it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think that good.
Oh, no, you were talking. I'm like, go ahead. I was getting ready to ramble.
I think that this is probably a good place to bring it to a close.
Okay.
We've been going for a little bit over an hour, but this has been an enjoyable conversation. I think we had good subject material to cover, and you guys are always good guests and co-hosts. Hold on a second. Eric, Trenchy. Tarantino adapted Jackie Brown from a book by Elmore Leonard, who had a bunch of his books turned into movies, including the films Get Shorty and Be Cool. So it wasn't a full on Tarantino work.
True.
And Walton Goggins is always amazing. Yes, he is.
Yes.
He will be an amazing Dracula if someone wakes up and seizes the opportunity.
Well, he could. This, at the end of the day, this started off last week as the perfect foil for Stoker's Dracula, which was just holy shit. That was bad.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry that I still reread your stuff and watch that over and over and over again.
Oh, yeah,
laugh
fucking,
at that
fucking
one.
Scottish accents. All right. Well, thanks to everybody thanks for Trenchy and for Eric. Thank you to Bill and John. We'll be back here next week. Let's see, what have we got lined up here next week? We've got we're going to finish up the trilogy for Carpenter, In the Mouth of Madness, and obviously you two are both invited to that. John, you know how it works now. This is your first stream with us. Bill, you've done it a number of times now. I think on Thursday I'm doing with Eric. Eric and I are going to do The Terminator.
Wow.
That's going to be interesting.
The original?
Yeah, the original James Cameron's The Terminator. Eric and I haven't worked together since we did a double feature for Zombies. We did the Halloween franchise, Zombies Halloween franchise. So I'm looking forward to that, getting back in there with Eric. And Eric says I'll be back soon. So that will be very cool. And I'm looking, well, I'll talk to you guys later, but don't leave. I'm going to do the outro and we'll talk for a second. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. If you see this on the replay, please like the video. Feel free to subscribe. Bill, you got any content you're working on right now, or are you in between?
I got nothing right now. I'm working on the next thing. Working on the next thing.
Okay.
The Neverlasting Gobstopper is done for now on WMCX. It may pop up around Christmas, but right now I got no content coming.
John, you got any stage stuff coming? Anything?
I'm actually working on a live play that's happening in, of all places, in Ventnor, New Jersey, outside in a park.
Oh, no shit.
There's 8 different plays that are about 10 minutes long, and I'm directing all of them.
Well, you got to tell me about that. I'll be there.
Yeah, but the whole point about it is it's like you walk the park and they're performing outside. Like move. So you're social distancing.
Okay, well, don't leave. All right, everybody, take it easy.